Shoot a quick video of the cabin. One of the really nice things about this cabin is it's really big. One thing that most boats have is where this bulkhead comes around here. Usually it goes all the way around the boat here and it narrows up that opening up into the V-berth. These don't have that, so it's absolutely gigantic down here. It's really wide. I've got my little strap my ladder in here, but that is a well for a porta potty. There's a nice big porta potty in there that pops open. There's a porta potty up in there. There is a there's a hatch in there. There's storage in there. That's where I've got the full camper cover in there. Let me see if I can back up here. Really big long couches in here. The interior in here is really nice. Got a light up there. Hatch seals up, doesn't leak. One of the handles is broke right there. It's a tailor-made hatch. I looked them up. You can get a new handle. Just haven't done it on my laundry list. This boat's got a laundry list. Again, big long couches, really nice shape. Floor, you can hear me banging on the floor. It is solid as a rock in here. Very strong. I'm a real big guy and I feel no flex. The floor is really good. Got a table that goes in here down on the floor. Otherwise, that's about it for the cabin. Shoot a real quick video of the deck. It's kind of dirty. We're sitting here in the campground. It sits here all year long underneath the tree. I need to get rid of some branches. But the whole deck is non-skid, so that's why it's not very shiny. But the whole thing is non-skid. Got a nice big anchor locker up front. Hatch works. It's really solid. I walk up there, again, I'm a really big guy. We beach. I walk up there, no issues, no flex, nice and strong. Do a quick video of the helm here. Let's see, I think all the gauges work. The clock, the plastic is broke on it. Trim gauges don't work because of the trim senders, sending units in the back. I'll talk about that when I'm outside the boat. Tacks work. Speedo, same thing. Tubes broke on the outdrive. It's about a $15 little part. Otherwise, temp gauges, volts, everything, oil pressure, all work good. Depth sounder does work. I just put a new transducer on it. Otherwise, trim, tabs, it does have tabs, they work. Drives shift nice. This one is like butter. This one does shift a little bit harder, if you can hear that. She shifts a little bit harder. We'll talk about it more when we get out. I think I know what it is. I think it just needs some lube. Throttles work good. I'll shoot the interior here real quick. It's got a radio under here. It's got a radio. It does have a couple speakers. I'm not even really sure how good it is. We're not much for listening to the music as much as we love music. Side panels. Interior's pretty nice. Front seat. Interior's pretty nice. Got a few little scuffs and marks in it. Older boat. This seat wobbles. The slider's shot. Bushings are bad in it. I've debated putting bushings in it or just buy a new slide. This one over here, that one's nice and tight. Again, interior's pretty decent. Look down the side panel. It is missing some of these decorative buttons. It's missing some of those. Move this. Back seat again. Nothing major. It's got a few. There's a little blem there. A couple little stains in it. And maybe those would come out. It's got blue snap-in cockpit carpet. And it's really dirty. It's got a place for a pedestal table in here. Floor is super solid. It's got a nice white finished floor under it. I actually think it looks better with the carpet out. The carpet's kind of faded. I leave it in here because we park it under a tree. Every time I open it up, I get leaves and everything else in here. Back sun deck, again, pretty good for its age. There's a few blemishes here and there, but really not too bad. Alright, I'll talk about the engine compartment. First thing I'll address, the hatch. Very solid, but right down here, this hinge broke loose, and I don't know if the wood is soft there. I mean, it feels pretty good, but as you can see, the upholstery will have to come off to reattach that hinge. One over there is good, so it sits on here a little crooked. We've had a ton of rain, so the bilge has a bunch of water in it without having the cover on it. The vents right here, the water runs in it. If one of the things you notice in this boat is how incredibly heavy and strong they are built. The center stringer, The stringers in here are amazing. One thing I can't do is get a really good video down in here of all the how it's built. They have cross braces between all the stringers, and unfortunately that's what holds water. If I jiggle, you can see I need to suck the water out. I just shop back it out or throw a towel down in there because it doesn't drain the best, unfortunately, with all the cross braces in there. But it's incredibly strong. I owned 2 Bajas before this. I will own another Baja. It wouldn't bother me in a second. But when people say the build quality difference, very noticeable when I got this boat. It is built so good, so heavy, so strong. It's really amazing. The motors are twin 350 mag Alpha 1s. These are the 270 horse. They have closed cooling, as you can see right here. The nice thing about the closed cooling, no raw water comes in. I do have new radiator caps. I had one break on me, and I just replaced them both. I wasn't gonna hang on to the old ones, but that's nice. They do run a little bit warmer than my closed cooling motors. Both my Bajas were, excuse me, my open cooling motors. Both my Bajas were open cooling, and they ran 160, 170 degrees. These run about 185, 195. I thought that was a little high, and I did some reading, and some other guys with the same setup said that's about what they run. Guy bought it from said he's had it for 10 years. That's what it ran for temp. Starboard does run a little bit warmer, about 10 degrees, and so I thought it was the impeller. So I put a new impeller in this one. It's got the see if I can get down there. It's got the front of the motor belt-driven water pump. I threw a new impeller in and it ran about the same. So I threw an IR temp gun on it when I had them good and warm, and it was only about 5 degrees warmer, and quite frankly that's not a big deal. So this one over here does have a new impeller in it. Otherwise everything in here, it's got new Deca marine starting batteries in it. They've got maybe 5 outings on it. See if I can spin this around. It's got battery switches in here, got an onboard fire extinguisher, again battery switch. Trim tab pump is in here, trim tabs work, blowers work, otherwise everything in here works. Motors run good, purr like a kitten, hold oil pressure, don't seem to be burning any oil. One thing I do notice, and I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but these motors take a long time to start when they've been sitting. My thought was the anti-siphon valve down in the tank is bad, and these carbs are the gas is running back down into the tank. And so what happens when it's been sitting and you got to start it, you got to crank it a while. Not an issue to the point where your battery goes dead or reliability issues. It just takes a while. My last 2 boats, my Bajas, both had Hollies on them. And unless it sat up over the winter, they started right now. These take a while. This still has the stock factory, I believe they're Webers on it, or Carters, whatever they were. I've had some guys tell me that the issue is probably actually the carburetors. They're just notorious for slow starting. Could be wrong, don't know. I know that they, I never have any reliability issues. They start, it's noticeably, it takes a while cranking when it's been sitting to get them fired up. When they're fired up, purr like a kitten, run great. Don't overheat. They do run, like I'd mentioned, they do run up there 185, 195 degrees, but that sounds like where they're supposed to run. Coolant's good. Otherwise, they run great. I can't think of anything else here. Oh, it does have a, I use the cover post to hold it up. The little gas shocks are, one of them shot. I pulled it out and I could feel it was weak, so it won't hold itself up. It's got a table. I got the pedestal. That's just where the table slides in. Does have through-hull exhaust. The Y pipes are capped off. I don't know if you can see that down there, but it originally had through prop, and then at some point somebody capped off the Y pipes and then cut in the through hull and put straight through hull. It's honestly not that loud, but it does have through hull. I'll jump outside and shoot some more. One more thing I want to talk about before I jump out here. The engine compartment is tight. Working in there would be miserable if you couldn't pull out the back seat. So in order to do that, these side panels come off. It comes really quick. You just pop the screws off. The screws off underneath those caps. Screw gun just takes you seconds. Back side of these grab handles, there's a lock washer and a nut. Pull them off of both sides. Again, it takes just a few minutes. The back seat, which I guess I didn't show earlier, has storage under it. You can pull the hinge off, pull the seat, and then the back seat is held in. It's hard to see, there's a bunch of stuff in there, but there's a lip that runs around the inside, and it's just screwed down. I don't know, there's probably 8 screws that hold this to just screw it to the deck. You unscrew those, unscrew your switches from the back, and you just slide the whole seat forward. You can slide it up. I actually pull my captain's chairs right off, and I slide this right up as far as I can get it, and it'll give me, the back will be way up here. I've got 3 feet back here to work with. Makes it really nice. Like when I swapped out that impeller, you take the 10 minutes to pull the back seat out, and boy, you can sit right there. The impeller's right there in front of you. Took just that extra 10 minutes of pulling the back seat saves a ton of time when you try to do stuff in the engine compartment. While I'm covering this up, I'll shoot a video of the cover. Has a full cockpit cover. Does not have a full cover. Kind of wish it does. Definitely gets dirty. This doesn't cover the side vents. You can't see them from here. So when it rains, it gets water in the bilge. But it functions. It's not original. Looks like somebody had it made. But it's here. It works. Keeps the water out of the cockpit. Trailer functions as it should. It's an old aluminum I-beam magic tilt. The brake actuator's got a lot of slop in it. I don't actually know if the brakes work. Let's see if I can... I can't get it to slide. It feels like it's got a lot of slop in it. I don't have any problem stopping it, but then I pull it with full-size pickups. I'll shoot some video here. I shot it on one of the deck. Like I said, it's all non-skid. The whole boat here, I just washed the dust off and it gets real dirty here. I'm going to try to get down here and see. I did all along the bottom right here. I fixed, there's a bunch of nicks in the gel coat. I don't know how well this is showing up on camera. What I think happened is I noticed a bunch of these rollers are new. I think they loaded it. The rollers were getting bad and it scuffed it. And so I dropped the rollers down out of the way, and I spent some time down here. You can still see it. You can see it. I can see it here. My body work's not the greatest. I'll try to shoot it from the other side as well. I'm not a body man by any means, but it's sealed up real nice. I also went around, I don't know if you can see if I can get that to show up. There's some reason along the edge of the deck right here, a lot of little chips like this. And so I went around with Marine Tex, the same stuff I used on the bottom, and I filled them in. I'm not, definitely not a body man by any means, and I think they should be probably sanded a little better. The boat, let me see, this is kind of the shady side. Still got a little of the Lake Minnetonka scum left on it. I've scrubbed and scrubbed it, needs some more scrubbing. Now there are still a few more chips, nicks in the gel coat that need to be repaired under the waterline. I've gotten most of them. Otherwise the hull is nice and solid, feels really good. You go over waves, it's nice and strong. There is this right here. This is here when I bought it. This is blue gel coat here. This is what's left of the vinyl graphics. It had vinyl graphics down here, kind of along here. You can still see the ghosting of it. I don't know if that'll pick up in the video or not. You can still see the ghosting of it where they were. There's a big gouge there. So if I go around, like here, there's some spider webbing in the gel all along the cap here. I'll kind of talk about it a little bit. I reached out to some other Nova ST owners about all the spider webbing that happens back here. Again, this is all spider webbed right here. They said theirs were the same way. In fact, I've seen pictures of some other ones when I was shopping for this one, and they were like this. It looks to me like when Wellcraft designed this cap. It's just not quite reinforced enough. So it definitely has some spider webbing in it. The swim platform, really nice and functional. It had a black anti-skid paint on it. Oh my gosh, that was a trip getting all that scrubbed off. So it's nice and blue, but I would definitely recommend putting some new anti-skid on it, because even though it's textured, when it's wet, it's slippery. And with this boat, like it kind of sits in the water with the rear end down a little bit, so it's sloped. And I would put some anti-skid, either some paint or maybe like some sea deck or something on it. But again, if you look along here, I don't know how much that's showing up. Gel coat's kind of spider webbed here. Same thing going down this side. Same thing here. All the same spot. Like I said, I'd looked at some other ones. Here's some of my not very good gel coat repair handiwork. In fact, there's some more back here. They're just not very good. I'm not nothing to hide here. Very honest. I sealed them up, but somebody that does better body work than me needs to do them. Same thing here with right through here. There's a few spider webs. Very little bit in the hull. Otherwise, the hull is really solid. This is a tried and true Nova hull. I think this hull's been around since the 70s when the Nova Boat Company developed it. Very good, tried and true hull. Here's a few more. So this is kind of what I was dealing with on the bottom. Let me see if I can get a good video of that. Just through the gel into the glass. No delamination at all. Let me get back down here. Again, this is where I kind of just did a big long patch. There was probably 3, 4, 5 kind of long little spots where the gel had gotten nicked off the bottom. And so I did probably a 3-4 foot long patch down there and just did it all. Again, no delamination. The glass looked great. I should have documented it when I did it, but the glass looked great. I just sanded it down, marine texed it a couple coats, sanded it. It is noticeable, but it's the bottom of the boat. As you can see, the bottom still has some crud on it, but again, nice, strong, heavy-duty hull. Again, trailer's functional. It ain't pretty. I did lose a bearing buddy off of the other side. It's on the list to just go get a new one. I need to stop and pick one up. I'm not sure what happened. She popped off going down the road. So I'll talk about the drives here. Let me get down here. This drive was replaced when I bought the boat. This drive was bad. Not this drive. This side was bad. I thought it was a bad gimbal bearing. Shame on me. I should have looked at it closer. It wasn't a bad gimbal bearing. It had been ran without oil in it, and the uppers were bad. So I ended up picking up this used drive from a mechanic down at Lake of the Ozarks. I want to say he worked for Raymond's, but don't quote me on that. This didn't come from Raymond's. He was scrapping out it came off a little 28-foot cruiser. He had both sides. The hull was rotten. He said it had about 250 hours on it. Take that for what you will. But gears look good. Pressure tested good. Holds oil. Holds lube. Holds water out. Paint's not the best. You can tell it came off a little cruiser, but shifts like butter. This one over here I have not had off. Oh, let me jump back here. When I had this one off, the gimbal bearing is beautiful in it. No gimbal bearing issues at all. No water in the gimbal bearing. Turns nice and smooth. While I'm back here, I did put a new transducer on it. The one that was on it didn't work, so it's got a new transducer. Depth gauge does work. This drive over here, you can tell the boat was slipped in the water. Paint's not pretty on it. This one I have not had off. It functions. When I was inside, I kind of showed it. Seems like you have to push the shifter pretty hard to get it to go in and out of gear. It feels fine going in and out of gear, but you got to push the shifter pretty hard, and I think I need to take it off and probably clean out where the shift mechanism slides in here. I'm guessing it's all gunked up. When I did this one, I cleaned it up really good when I put it on. This one hasn't. If it wasn't so late in the day today, I'd probably honestly drop this off and do this. It only takes, you can literally have these drives off in like 2 minutes. They pop right off. Stainless steel 23 pitch props on it. Got trim tabs. They work. Hull's nice and solid. She could use a good cleaning. I'll try to lay down here and shoot some video underneath the bottom of the boat. See what I can get here. The through holes for the water pickup, both sealed up real nice. Never had any leaking issues with those at all. See the bottom still got some crud on it. Could use a good cleaning. I did do a little bit of of gel coat chip, some chips back here as well. Same thing, sanded them down, marine text them. That stuff seems to be really good. It doesn't color match perfectly, but on an old boat like this, I wasn't too worried about it. So one of the things that this boat has going on is it does have a slow leak, and I'm guessing, I think it's the bellows. I'm not gonna, I got the drives down, I'm not gonna be able to get in there and look, but the bellows just don't look that good. They look old, they look dry, they're starting to weather check. I think she's got one of the shift cable bellows is probably leaking. Originally I thought maybe it was the Y pipes, so I blocked this one off. I blocked off the 3 passages going into the Y pipe just to see if that would change anything, and it did not. I haven't done it on this one. This Y pipe's still open, and I haven't had this one apart to look at the drive shaft bellow, but I would suggest putting bellows in it. When we go out and run it, the automatic bilge kicks in probably once an hour, spits out a couple gallons. I mean, enough that I think at some point it needs to be fixed, but it's not enough to keep you off the water. All of the trim senders don't work. Neither one of the trim senders work. The wires are all bad on them. They're corroded off. I don't know if the limit switches work, but honestly, if you're going to pull it apart and do them, I would do all 4. I would do the limits and the senders and the bellows. I'd do it all in one shot. In fact, if I end up keeping the boat, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull them off, do bellows and senders all in one shot and be done with it. Otherwise, like I said, the drives, both drives hold oil, hold pressure, hold water out, oil in and out of gear. Other than this one, you have to push a little bit harder. Otherwise, it goes in and out of gear good. No issues with it. Boat drives good, goes down the river good. You know, twin engine in a small boat, pops right up on plane. Boat, they call these a 26. I remember right there, 25.5 to the transom. Swim platforms, a bunch of more. It's almost a 28-foot boat. So quite a bit of boat here for the money. I've gotten it up to about 55 on the GPS, which isn't bad considering it's a big, heavy old boat. I usually just cruise probably 40, 45 in it. I didn't buy it to do 100 miles an hour. It's not what it's designed for. We run it up and down the Mississippi River here, which is overflowing its banks today. Otherwise, we'd be out in it right now. But the water is extremely high right now, so no going out on the water today. So that's all I can think of. I think of anything else, I'll shoot some more. One other thing that I did think of, where the speedometer tube goes into this drive, that's the one that runs the speedometer. There's a little 2-piece plastic fitting. One end goes down into the lower, the other end is attached to the tube, and they snap together. It's broke. I haven't replaced it. Speedometer's never been a big deal to me, but I didn't want to bring that up. It is broke. One of the other things I have not talked about in the back of my messy shed is the bimini top. It's got a nice big bimini top. If I had it open, if I remember right, it was in pretty good shape. It's got the full pulls that go over. The nice thing, the bimini top, it does actually fit down into the engine compartment. There's straps in there, so it's got a cover that goes over it. You can put it down in there and pull it out whenever you want. And it does have a full camper cover, fully enclosed top. It's got the glass that goes, all the plastic glass that goes all the way around it. It fully encloses. That is folded up and down in the bow right now. And if I remember right, when I looked at it, one of the plastic windows is cracked. We don't overnight in it. I've never used it, but it is a big full camper top. So like I said, it's got that, and it's got a nice big bimini for it. We're not really bimini folks, so never used it, but I've got it, and it comes with it, and it's very functional.